Would you like to start, or would you like? Take your time. I'm not in a rush.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I think this mic is on.
I
Good
believe so.
afternoon. We're going to go ahead and begin with our work session for the proposed budget of fiscal year 25-26. First, we're going to just have, if everyone can stand, we're going to have a brief prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you this afternoon, Lord. We come before you with thanks, giving thanks for allowing us to see a brand new day and to be able to congregate here, God, for the business of the city of Lake City. Father God, we ask you to just cover us and to help us to have clear hearts and clear minds as we come together as leaders, as community members, as city staff for the business of the city of Lake City. Lord, let this meeting be as you see fit. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So without delaying the time, because it is 5:30, we're going to go ahead and start our work session, and I'm going to pass it on to our interim city administrator.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I guess I'll probably stand and sit a lot of the time too, but I enjoy budgets. You know, it's a single greatest expression of council policy that you have. You're laying out what you're going to do for the next year and really for years afterwards. So a budget can be exciting. Now, it also can be boring and mind-numbing, but we don't have that here today. We'll go through this briefly, and I'll take some of this. Nicole Werner will take a part of it, and we'll be happy to answer questions. We can answer a lot of your questions if you have them today, but if necessary, we'll be glad to come back to you with answers as well. I like to think of better to get correct answers than off-the-hip answers, but here we go. All right, so we'll talk about a couple of things. We'll talk about the timetable for the budget, and let me emphasize, a budget is a year-round process. It is not just the last couple of months of the year. It's really a year-round process because you're spending, which is why the monthly report's so important, but also you're tracking and getting ready for the revenues and all that. So it's a year-round process. I'll go specifically through the budget timetable in just a second, but we'll talk about the budget overview, of course. We'll talk about financial policies and procedures, about health insurance, the city's health insurance with employees, and some recommendations we'll have. We'll talk about each department. We'll review line items within each department. We're going to talk about water rates and structure because there's a lot to the structure of water rates. We'll talk about financial policy items, talk about financial future needs, and again, I look to council for that as much as anything because you really make that decision how we go forward. And we'll talk about the millage rate. Any questions before we start? And I'm going to address all this to the council, but I hope y'all, if you have any real questions, I can't really field your questions at this point today, but I'll be happy to try to help you with them later. So here's the timeline. We've got the budgets are due from the department heads, and that was a couple of days ago, so we're there. We've been meeting individually with department directors, and several of the department directors are here this afternoon. Here's the work session. The first work session we'll start with. We have to post a budget has strict guidelines on posting and all of that. So we have we'll post the first public hearing in the paper on September 5th. The public hearing, and typically in South Carolina you have a first reading and second reading of ordinances, and the first reading is the public hearing, and then we'll have the second reading on October 14th unless it changes. And all of this is subject to change, of course. So let me just start with, we've tried to focus on stability of the city for the last several months, and this is one of those, adopting a balanced 2026 budget based on data and information, and I believe you'll find that that's the case here. We'll talk about the monthly oversight report. That's a tool for council and the department directors to track spending and revenues and all that. We're working on that now. We'll talk about financial policies, and we've particularly hit both the fund balance policy and the procurement policy. Fund balance policy was adopted by council, I guess at the last meeting. And then we'll talk briefly about the audit. The audit wraps up everything, and so we have the audit going forward with kind of fits and starts. So how we got here today is we've started separating the utilities from general fund expenses. We've talked about how the expenses were commingled over the last year or more, well, I guess for quite a while, and we've separated those back out. And the primary reason for doing so is two. One, the utilities is the enterprise fund of the city, so it's intended to make money for the general fund, but on top of it, it is weather dependent. If you get a lot of rain, that affects your income and your expenses. If you don't get a lot of rain, that affects your revenues and expenses as well. We'll talk about the interfund transfers, and that's been the key issue that we faced over the past year was the transfers out of the savings accounts and all that. We'll talk about rebuilding the fund balance, which this budget to some degree is intended to do so. And we'll talk about public services because that's what we're all in for. We're into the public services, trying to provide quality services for residents at a good, reasonable price. Talk about revenues and expenses, and we'll talk about how we have no reserves and how that's become a particularly poignant piece lately. All right. So with the general fund, we started this summer, with eliminating 13 positions from the budget. You see all those there. Those were ones that City Council felt were not as critical as the others of the city, and that most of these were empty. So when they were empty, it was a good time to step in and eliminate these positions. So we started 13 positions down, and I would say now in retrospect, that was a great move. It was a good way to go. We didn't have to eliminate people. We didn't have to do all of that, all the negative things that come with that, with downsizing. The general fund, the city collected $8.4 million in total general fund revenues last year. That's an important point because the budget was built on $10.2 million, presenting a 21% overall increase. The non-departmental transfers, you'll find in this new budget, the biggest issue with the departmental transfers is non-departmental revenues and what we're calling cost allocation. The general fund, again, utilities is your profit-making arm. General fund is the public services. The general fund is before I lose my train of thought, general fund spends time in the utilities, keeping it ahead, provides office space, provides people, provides all of that, and so it charges those expenses back to the utilities. Come in, hi. And so this budget really reflects an updated cost allocation for water and sewer services, and we'll talk about savings and how all that happened. It also, the city has had rate increases in the past, but like every city in the world, you struggle with making them sizable. You don't want to go too far. You also don't want to go too little, and we've needed some extra revenue. So the previous rate increases have been, I'd say, well-meaning but inadequate. We're going to talk about restructuring of past collections with lost funds. That's our issue today with the state. The state has come back to us about our audit and said that the audit needs to be finished, or they're withholding state-shared revenues. What they're really withholding is the past collections of local option sales tax and other funds, and I forget the phrase. The phrase for that is the adjustment credit factor, and I can't really explain that, but the adjustment credit factor, and that plays into all of this. It's actually turns into a positive for us with revenues.
So that's what
Yes, sir.
everything that's in Florence County that we haven't received, or that's state coming from South Carolina State?
I'm sorry, tell me that question again.
The tax money that we didn't receive, is that coming from the losses from the state, or that's coming from Florence County?
I believe it's from the state.
From the state?
Right. You know, the county also has local option sales tax, but
Yeah, because I
this,
know when people pay into the city taxes and to the Florence taxes. I remember we used to take and look in the paperwork and see who didn't pay and all that good stuff, and that's how they find out and go back through the bills and send the people the letters.
Very
Right.
good.
That would be the delinquent
The
tax.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, business license fees in the city have been stable. Means the businesses are relatively healthy. We don't have a lot of businesses, but the ones that we have do seem to be stable and healthy. And then the category that's other income shows a moderate adjustment. Basically, that's just collections that we get from an assortment of different sources.
Question.
Yes, sir.
When was the last time the business license was reviewed for incomes, what we're charging the businesses here in town? When the last time that was reviewed? How much business license is? Can we look at the maybe increasing on that to get a little bit more revenue?
I don't know the answer on that. I would say we have so few businesses in the city that it'd be difficult to really get a lot of revenue, but we can always look at that if you'd like. Typically, the business license is broken down by business category, so you'll have real estate agents and construction companies and all that. And I don't know where ours would be, but I assume most of ours would either be fast food or limited retail. And so there's not going to be an awful lot of money there, but you never know. And so we can look at that if you'd like to. Okay. All right. So that was general fund. General fund is the general taxpayer portion of the budget. When you're counting on public services, it comes through the general fund. Next, we've got the enterprise funds. Historically, this has been broken into water and sewer. When you receive the budget after we're all through with this, it'll be combined into a utilities budget. That's the trend of most cities today, and it's for a lot of good reasons. Sometimes water does better, sometimes sewer does better, and so what you want is you want it to be balanced, and so you adjust both to make sure that works. For sewer, the actual revenues last year were $3.4 million. We've estimated $4.2 million as we go forward, with a $799,000 revenue increase. The primary driver is we are recommending a change to the rate structure, not to the rate, but and we'll talk about what the two different ways that you raise the rates and revenues with the utilities are. If you looked at your home bill for water and for sewer, it's really the same. We don't charge customers for the first 2,500 gallons of sewer usage. We use the South Carolina Rural Water Association, which the city has used in the past, to suggest the rate structure, and they're coming through with all of these recommending that it should be a no minimum bill. So we start from zero. So if you used 1 gallon, you would pay for that because the city's trading it, and that's the expenses anyway. But that does impact our customers. It certainly does impact our customers.
I got a question,
yes,
like
sir.
with the sewer and everything.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, like when we have different cities coming to town to dump the sludge and all that good stuff, is it any way we could look at maybe increasing the rates on, the trucks coming in, dumping the sludge? Maybe looking at that, Mr. Ricky? With the different business coming in, like guys got septic tank trucks and all that good stuff, kind of go up on the rates of that. You maybe adjusting that to try to get a little bit more income,
Well, to answer that, every year, we've been going up about 3%, even though the water and sewer rate for the residents of the city,
What
putting them here, but the waste haulers, they're at three different categories that they're set up in.
Okay.
And we go up on them about 3% every year.
Okay.
So it's, every year we get them.
Okay.
Good. All right, let's talk about water. And again, we're talking about restructuring the rates, going to a zero minimum rate structure. So you're charging for the first gallon of water that we sell. Last year's revenues were $1.9 million. We're projecting 2.4 for next year. And again, it's primarily due to that rate change. And again, this is a rate change that impacts the customers, but it is a rate change. Doesn't go up on the amount that we're charging for the water itself. Um, Again, we don't charge for the first 2,500 cubic feet or gallons per day. I think I've really covered that a couple of times. Anyone have any questions on that and the way that these things work? You typically have in rates, you have a facility charge and you have a consumption charge. In this case, we're raising the facility charge, but the consumption charge would be something next year. If this doesn't produce the kind of revenue we need to balance the system, then that would be where you'd go. You wouldn't go back to the facility charge, because facility charge you don't usually change very often.
Another question on Ms. Thompson.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to the rural part of town, people that we provide water to, as we look in adjusting, we giving them the services, looking out for our people that's here in town, make it an equal media, ball game for everybody. But could we kind of increase the rates on our rural customers that's outside of town? You get what I'm saying?
So is this for out of town and in town, or just for in town?
This is just, well, it's both, really, because your policy is outside the city limits, you pay double rates. Inside the city, you don't.
Less.
The legislature has blessed the double rate side. They didn't like it, but years ago, they blessed it because they said, well, it is more expensive to provide water and sewer service when the houses are several hundred yards apart or a couple of miles apart and all that. We run the lines. So they allowed the double rates. They would probably weigh in if we wanted to go the other way, because it's kind of a statewide compact that everybody reached. Although personally, I think there are a lot of examples where you could do it and the customers would like it. Customers can't get water or sewer if they're too far out, and if they could pay the difference, some of them would, especially new subdivisions and that type of thing.
And then like what you're saying, if you were to put that on the table, that would get people to want to annex into the city, where we could get more tax base. You get what I'm
Exactly,
saying?
exactly right.
So this change is not for out of town, this is just in town?
Well, you're going for out of town. It's going to do both. The in-town is just doubled for out of the city. So if you've raised the facility charge inside the city limits, it's double that outside the city.
So the rate structure is across
for
the
everybody.
board
Right.
for the
Okay.
city of Lake City.
Okay.
But the rates will double. So say for instance, with the rate structure, we go from $12 to $15. Well, outside the city will pay $30
Okay.
versus the $15.
Okay, all
That's
right.
exactly clear. So you are hitting the outside the city limits, whereas it's a little harder.
Okay.
But again, I'll go back to, sometimes that's the only way they can get water and sewer. The other issues are, if you're pushing annexation, a lot of times cities will provide other services like fire protection. We do a limited amount of fire protection outside of the city and all that, but there are other ways to do that. That is one of them. Anyway, we could get into the whole issue of annexation sometime. All right.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
To answer Jason's question, while we're up against
Yeah.
the call, I don't have that in front of me, but I think that revenue stream is about 80,000 that comes in off what we collect off that.
About 80,000.
So you know on that.
Okay.
And I think we were talking the other day, we don't have a lot of outside city limits customers. I think we have 1,400 water customers and about 50 sewer. Was that what the 50 was? Yeah, about 50 sewer. So it's not a big base, but it is a base.
About how much do we project that each family's bill will go up?
We haven't really looked at that. It could easily be, the rate right now is about, if inside the city limits, is about $12, as Ms. Werner mentioned. After this is over, there'll be some adjustment. People will adjust their usage to control their costs and all that. But my guess would be people are going to be paying in the $20 to $25 range, perhaps more. But if they're not using a lot, they won't charge a lot. If they use a lot, then they will. But invariably, if the rates go up, the usage will drop. Okay. All right, so we've talked about the commingling of funds. Now we've separated those out. We've had a utility rate study conducted, and we have some interesting information on that. It wasn't as groundbreaking as I expected, but it was still good information. Shows basically we're probably either at or among the lowest rates in the area, possibly in South Carolina. But that's before the rates go up with these changes. Yes, sir?
No, you good.
Oh, okay.
I just was, you good.
And what we're talking about here is we're formalizing the cost allocation process. Typically, every city transfers money from the utility system into their general fund. That's what it's there for. The residents create a utility system both for themselves and to offset some of their expenses and that kind of thing. The other side of that, though, is that there are different ways to transfer money. You can do it in a formal way by bringing it to council and say, we'd like to have $20,000 transferred from the utility system to the general fund. That's the clean way of doing it. But there's the other way. The other way is just overspend. And then it gets transferred anyway. And nobody really notices that because you have reserves, and we know we've spent our reserves, and some of it really does come down to exactly this. Yes, sir.
At the end of the day, all in the ballpark, the utility fund is supposed to be pretty much like a savings account. Once you get so much money, not saying that you use it as a savings account, but you gotta still use your utility funds to do work that's within the city, on lines and everything. That's good. You get what I'm saying? But
I do.
once you get, a lot of money, you can say, well, I can use this money to go buy purchases, but you need to go through the right, proper chains to do that.
All right, there's a process, and typically that involves city council and going after that money, but you're exactly right. And again, going back to how utilities are weather dependent, so you have to sock away a rainy day fund for exactly that reason. A rainy day fund means there's going to be rain or dry, and so you want that rainy day fund. But you should control it,
Yeah.
and you should have that opportunity to say, yes, we'll use it, or no, we won't use it. And so that's the way that works, but you're exactly right. All right, water and sewer rates, I mentioned how there are really two parts to it. There's the facility charge and the consumption charge, and then it's inside versus outside, and then there are residential and commercial rates. Those are essentially the categories that we have here. The budget includes 3% salary increases for employees.
And I got a question on the salary.
Okay, please.
It don't have to be done, but later on down the road, in the next couple of weeks, could we get a printout of every employee that's high with the city of Lake City, that's salary, that's on salary, than the ones that hit the
hourly?
clock, that hit the clock hourly?
Okay.
And you get what I'm saying? Because then you could kind of manage, what work's being done. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
sir, I
we can
do.
go down them
Yes,
weeds
sir.
a little bit later on down the road.
So you wanna know how many hourly people we got and how
Yeah, how
many
many
salary?
salary
So we
people?
have 73 hourly.
Yeah, we need, could we get a printout and
Is
see?
that right?
That's
Well,
correct.
that's good, I didn't know that.
Could we
I
get-
was going to say, I don't know if we maintain the records like
That
that.
was requested back in November.
So could we get a printout of how many people that's on salary and how many people that's with names, if you don't mind, if we
Okay.
get names?
Good, we certainly can.
Okay, thank you.
Finally.
Health insurance, let's see, we're on Blue Cross right now, I believe. We have looked around, the state has a program, PEBA, Public Employees Program, which looks like it's superior. Blue Cross has adjusted their rates somewhat, so they're a little more competitive. But we're talking about, we probably need to have a session with council and talk about whether we want to change health insurance, because there are some benefits to it for the employees and all that, and it's portable, so there are a lot of benefits for employees. But anyway, that's an issue that we think sometime this summer, early fall.
And while we on insurance,
Yes, sir.
is there any way that you can get with department heads that have vehicles
Yes,
and
sir.
see which vehicles is running, which vehicles not running that have insurance on them?
So
we
you're talking about just regular auto insurance versus health insurance?
Auto insurance too, because if a vehicle is like, could be up there at Donnie Auto Parts, and it could be up there for 6 months, and if we're not using that vehicle, but every month we paying insurance on it, that could have been, money that we were saving
You know,
within
you
the
still gotta
city.
have insurance on the car, you just can't, because it's at a dealership.
No,
Oh, not, because it's being repaired, you still have to have insurance.
like if a motor or something blowed up,
Oh,
or, something that, just get it for me. if you don't.
Okay, we can certainly do
I'll
that.
explain it to you later. I'll explain it.
Okay, we can certainly do that, and that's the thing, every vehicle in the city should be insured,
And see, the
but
company,
if they're not working, then we certainly need to try to save some money that way, you know?
and see, a company that I work with, we might have 10 vehicles that we using on the daily. And it's pretty much a pick up the phone, hey, put insurance on this vehicle. We're gonna put this one back on the road. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
You kind of saving yourself money, you know. And not saying anything about the police department, anything, chief, don't get me wrong, you might got a vehicle that's sitting over there in the parking lot.
That one shouldn't have insurance on it.
Yeah, but you know, anything liable to happen. Mr. Ricky might got an old truck to sit like that. We just, you know, period of time,
Good.
just forget the truck sitting over there, we still paying insurance on it. You get what I'm saying?
I
If we
think
could just get a grasp on that kind of stuff,
That's great.
and
We
that
can
that
certainly
could
do
save
that.
the city money
Taxes.
somewhat.
I have a question,
Yes,
kind of
ma'am.
change the subject. With trash pickup, would it be possible to charge the out-of-town trash pickup more, like we charge more for the water?
Do we collect trash outside the city limits?
Some areas,
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay.
whenever you set up an account, instead of 150 search, instead of $100 search, it's 150.
So we do charge more?
Yeah, for setting up.
Okay.
But when your monthly bill is the same as the inside,
Okay.
which is $20.
So that might be a
That's good.
possible.
Yeah. So once they set it up, it's 150 up front, and then after that, it's
It's the
25.
same. Yeah.
It's 25, $20.
Same as in
Yeah,
town.
we might need to look
All
at
right,
that
good.
too.
We'll look at that. Thank you. Other questions on those? All right, donations, we have cut back on the donations in the budget. You know, the only three that we funded in the budget are the Boys and Girls Club, the PD transit system, and what was the other one?
The library.
The library, that was it. Sale of property, you know, we can sell property. You know, we have a couple of properties we've talked about selling in the past. I would say if you do sell it, the money really needs to go into
Savings.
reserves, because it's one-time kind of money. But if you'd like to explore that, we can do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had, I've had a lot of calls lately, people wanting some of our vacant property. I told them, well, why don't you let us know if you're interested? So yeah, we can do that.
And like you said, once we set, I know it's crunch time here in the city, and the grounds that we stand on, every little bit of money that we get counts. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
But
sir.
we gotta kind of, you know, put some money back, you know. If we selling the property, and then next thing you know, which I know is hard right now, we
Because
just
we
gotta
gotta
put
pay
it,
bills.
we gotta pay bills, but
Right, you're exactly right.
we gotta
So-
work some.
So y'all do understand that even with selling the property, even though we need to build the reserves
Yes, ma'am.
because of the crunch we're in,
Yeah.
it's not a whole lot's gonna go to savings.
Yeah.
Right. But we do need to go ahead and sell, especially the building on Main Street.
Right. I've got somebody that's interested in it right now, and I was gonna just ask y'all if y'all are ready for me to find a real estate and make it go forward. If there are any objections, I mean, I can put it on the agenda, or just take a nod, whatever you'd like.
Where's it
We
located?
can talk about it.
On Main Street,
Okay?
the building
Okay.
on Main Street.
That's when the city.
Oh, 106 something?
Yeah, 106.
Okay. I'll put it on your agenda and let y'all talk about it, okay? All right. All right. Ms. Werner is gonna take us through the rest, and she'll take you through the exciting parts of the budget.
All right, so this portion of the budget, we're gonna actually go through each department. The line items in each department is generally the same. I will highlight the items that will be different in each department, okay? This is our time to talk, to make sure that we're doing the best for the city of Lake City, okay?
And the comments you've had so far, that's exactly what we're here for. Anything you can think of, you want to just chat about, this is your chance. That's why you're kind of in an intimate setting rather than up on the dais and all that, so you can talk to each other and decide what you'd like to do.
So if you can see, for the July, 2024 to June of 2025, which was the previous year that we just came out of, our actual expenses was 10.9 million. Okay, that was what was actually spent. The budget that you guys, passed back in June, that budget was, 11.9 million, okay? When we look at the actual cost, this purple, box here is what we are proposing tonight. So we're proposing that our general fund will be $9.8 million, okay? Which is about a $1 million difference. 3% of that, 9.8 million is the $119,000, for the 3% salary cost. So we wanted you guys to see what that total number was going to be for the 3%, so it's not a surprise. That's why we're here to talk about it.
So we proposing the 9, and then after everything said and done with the living and cost and everything, that's what it's gonna go up to.
So we're proposing the 9.8,
Mhm.
but if you take away the 3%, it's gonna be about 9.7.
Okay.
And that's just if you guys say, okay, we're not gonna do 3%, then we gotta take that 119,000 from the 9.8. Does that make sense?
That's how much you're gonna pay in the raises, 119?
The total cost of raise.
Yeah.
And you also notice that we don't have an IT media department. PIO is gone, so that's why that line is blank. The Boys and Girls Club, that is a donation that we do that is not an extreme expense for us, okay? It is our building, but the Boys and Girls Club themselves maintain it. We just give them a donation on top of them having our building. So that's why we took it from being a department to, it's listed under the non-departmental that you see there.
Okay.
That makes sense? So we don't have to go, I am going to touch on the budgets, okay? But
Just so you know, we
Oh, y'all don't
don't
see it.
have any capital or new employees involved. And those would typically be the things that really merit some discussion, but we don't have that included in this.
Okay, so this is the budget for the administration. Can you guys see that? The administration, budget is consisting of 6 full-time employees. We did, try to keep, the bonus in there that they got. It is typically 1% of your salary. So if you made $70,000 a year, your 1% was a $700 bonus. We're saying, let's give everybody a flat rate regardless of your salary, the $250. So it's not a 1% anymore. So you don't get $700, but if I only make $25,000 a year, I'm only getting $250, where you getting $700.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Be fair across the
We
board.
trying, especially with the expenses we're in.
And is that based on, merits? That's based on,
So previously, I've been told that the 1% bonus was a standard that was across the board for holiday. That was a holiday, expense to the employees, that it was
Okay.
just 1% across the board.
okay.
Which 1% can get really, really expensive when you got high paying salaries.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I suggested the 250,
Okay.
yes.
And with that, I might be a little too far ahead, but with the bonuses, say someone do, outstanding work, and somebody that don't do outstanding work, they still on the same.
So we gotta keep in mind what this bonus purpose is for. This bonus purpose is
Holidays.
strictly for holidays.
Strictly,
Okay.
that's what I want.
Nothing
That's
about
what I want.
performance.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
performance would be a merit that would
Yeah,
have to
merit.
be on your salary at the end of the year.
Right, this doesn't go on your base pay, it's just a
Right.
check.
Okay.
Now, but the other side, the merit pay type thing, before I leave, I'd like us to get started with evaluations again on employees, which could ultimately lead to merit pay if you decide you want to do that. But right now, the city's not doing anything with that.
Okay.
We did break out overtime. Most departments should not get a lot of overtime because they're salary. But because of the police department, the fire department, we wanted you guys to be able to see what that number would be at the end of the year in overtime. So you're gonna see that across the line, across the board, but just know that in some departments, it's not gonna be used as much as it is in other departments because majority of the staff in those departments are salary.
And that's the, you know, I may be talking a little bit over myself, getting a little too far here, but that might be a closed door conversation. But when it comes to the salary, you know, if a police officer was to come in and work extra and he's on salary, do he get extra money? If he wasn't on salary, would he just clock it? You get what I'm saying?
I got you.
So that's something we could probably look at down later.
So the thing that I'm finding out about public safety, if that's the correct term, I think, for fire and police, is the labor laws are a lot different for them when it comes down to wages, okay? So even though that's normal for a person who work a 40-hour job, when it comes down to the public safety, it's not that easily done. For example, our firefighters, they're, if I'm correct, Chief, help me out, they're on a 21-day cycle. And that 21-day cycle, they get seven overtime?
7 shifts.
7 shifts, which would allow, that in itself puts them into overtime. Now,
You have a
if
long
they're
shot.
off and they get called in, that's overtime. So that's how you have to you gotta see what's going on. Now, that's why we gotta come to an understanding and pull things more in internally to try to keep that at a minimum as possible. If you have a good trained staff, if you have good people, those are ways that we can minimize. But if we short staff, we're gonna have more overtime. You see?
And see, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief. You know, like if you on salary, if, you know, Ricky was to come in, I'm just using the old person. If he was to come in and stay at drill, he wouldn't get paid. He'd get comp time, correct?
So we don't really do comp time, but say for instance, you wouldn't get paid. Salary personnel, I'll use me as an example. So even since we got a storm in the Atlantic right now, if the hurricane was the development to a hurricane and come in our area and we had to activate. And it was resulting in a disaster by FEMA declaration, right? Even me, Patrick, if we are activated and we're here 24/7, we don't get paid any overtime. We just get paid our regular salary. Salary employees don't get anything but that. If hourly people come in and a disaster is declared, they can be reimbursed through FEMA. But department directors, salary employees, they don't get any of that. The only way you could do that would be by ordinance to change it to if departmental directors or salary employees are activated for an emergency situation, that they would switch over to an hourly rate and FEMA could reimburse during the emergency situation. But technically, right now, we don't get paid nothing but that salary. We won't receive any compensation.
You see on here, so let me explain people a little bit, because you know we kind of we went back and forth about it. When we actually look at the cost of what we're actually paying now, and what we're paying for now is basically marketplace insurance versus people, we're looking at roughly a $500 difference, okay? Marketplace is based off of your age, different factors, male, female, those type things. PIBA is state, issued, it gives you more options to have health spending accounts and different things to that nature versus now we have Aflac for dental and vision, and then we have the medical insurance with the marketplace. Well, PIBA does the vision, dental, and the medical,
And cheaper.
and it's $500 difference cheaper.
And they have dental plus too.
Yeah, well, you have that option, so I didn't want to go into a whole lot of details about people, so you would have three options. And I like to call, you have a Cadillac plan, and then you have a Get Me By plan. The Get Me By plan is the savings plan. The Cadillac plan would be the standard plan, and then those that have military, there is a TRICARE supplement plan. So you would have three options, but the costs vary because for a full family, the Cadillac plan is $306 for the employee to pay per month. So that'll be $150.
Come out of their check.
Yes.
And so with the insurance we got now, and you got a family, how much money comes out of their check now?
It depends. For me, I can speak for me. I pay $107 a pay period.
And if you was to get on people, how much it?
$150. So I'm paying $50 more to have better insurance, to have better option versus the marketplace. But that's what you have to, and that's why we're here to have these conversations for you guys, because you're the governing body. You need to know what we have and what we're going.
People, I believe that people will be more better, will be a better insurance option for, excuse me, for the employees. And of course, it depends on if they have like different type of medical conditions as well. Marketplace, like you said, is very iffy with the age and prior illnesses. So I think people will be a better choice for the employees.
I agree. But if it's better, I'd rather pay, a little bit more money,
And
but I don't know
it's what the
everybody.
city had before, prior.
So I've been told that the city had people in prior years, but the contact that I had with people had no record of us having people before. So I'm not sure.
But I don't know, you don't know everybody,
People is much better than I have.
living expenses and how would it hurt their financials inside their house.
So keep in mind with this, it's not gonna start immediately, okay? PIBA has already informed me that if council was to approve it, it'll probably be February, March before we even can get in, because they have enrollment process that they do and stuff too. And they got a lot, right now she said, there's a lot of employers trying to come into the people pool. So with them trying to come in, they have to space out, because they actually come in and have representatives here to talk to the employees to set it up.
I like for the people to come talk to them and then we can get a feedback from the employees and see how they feel about it before we make a decision. But I think it's a good idea. I would do it, but this depends on, people living expenses.
So it sounds like they have more options.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So we go on down, we know FICA is standing across the board, retirement is standing across the board, travel and training for the administration department. You see that number there, we have 3,000. When it comes down to public relations, that has been limited across most of the departments, because public relations is what you're supposed to use to maintain the face of Lake City. There's not a whole lot some departments need to do in maintaining the face of Lake City, so you won't see a lot of that in some of the other line items.
And that's an administration right there.
This is just the administration budget we're talking about right now. Gas and oil, of course. We changed the software expense. We changed that to software expense, because at first it was just computers. So the software expense, a lot of our stuff is licensed stuff, so we wanted to capture that because we're not spending a lot on computers, but we do spend a lot on the licensing for different things.
Gas and all, that's for vehicles. So how many administration vehicles that we got that's directly to, because we sold 2 of them, correct? Or one
So
of them?
the gas and all, keep in mind, you have your fuel man account. So just because we don't have the vehicle doesn't mean that we're not having a gas expense. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
So 2 of them are gone, but yes, well, are you saying that 2 vehicles are gone? We still have a vehicle expense or a gas expense because you still have administration with vehicles, correct?
So what I'm saying is, I'm gonna use me for an example. I'm your city clerk. I have to go to Columbia for a training. I gotta drop my car, but you're reimbursing me.
Okay.
That's coming from
Okay.
that
So
line.
that's a
Alright.
reimbursement.
Okay.
So that's what that should be.
So it's not, but you still have to have a line item
Item,
name
yeah.
for it. I can't name it reimbursement line.
Okay. I got you now. I got you.
Yes. Yes. We also changed this general supplies, because we shouldn't just be having just straight general supplies. That will be changed to custodial, supplies. And that's gonna be limited as well. Miscellaneous, that is strictly across the board, $1,000. And the reason for that is, everything should go to a line item. We should never have a lot of miscellaneous spending. If we having a lot of miscellaneous spending, to me, that means we're hiding something. When we have a clear budget, we have clear lines to know what we have, we should be tying all expenses to a line item, not miscellaneous.
That's
So-
what's your business way of doing it.
So once we buy something out of that miscellaneous, we gonna notate what we bought in that miscellaneous from here on out.
Right.
Instead of just saying, all right, well, I got $500 out of miscellaneous, put it here and don't say nothing about it. We just lost $500. Okay.
So the administration department makes up 6% of our budget, and we're budgeting it, of course, is what you saw on the first screen, that $596,617. Okay? So I'm gonna go quick through the rest of our departments, okay? Because it's basically the same.
Yeah.
Now, if y'all don't wanna go through all of them, we don't have
Yeah,
to go
let's go.
through all of them. I can skip to ones you guys want to.
Let's go through all of them.
So this is the government board and officials, which are you guys. We have 6 council members and a mayor. There will be no overtime, there will be no bonus or anything for the government body. So this salary you see here.
Holiday.
Mhm.
What holiday mean?
So previous administration, separated sick, vacation, and holiday pay as if they were paying you out of a separate pool.
Ghost.
You're not paying me out of a separate pool because it's tied to my salary. Especially if we are salary, you're gonna get paid the same regardless. If you work 40 hours or 60 hours, you get paid the same. It's not coming from a separate pool. So we wanted to make sure that we kept that seen that way, that we're not spending $5,000 from sick pay because we have $5,000 in a sick pool. It's actually being pulled from our salaries.
But on council, we don't get sick holiday.
So keep in mind, these line items are the same across every budget. Just some of them don't pertain to some departments. So that one, like overtime is number 2 in all departments. You guys will never use overtime, but other departments will.
It's just a spreadsheet, that's all.
But like we don't got overtime up there. We don't get holiday pay, but it still got $2,500 in it.
No. So, let's go back to the top. This right here is our proposed budget, so let me highlight this here. So you don't see a number there.
Okay.
The previous budget had you $2,500 in holiday pay. That's what they budgeted you for.
Yeah, because I remember seeing it
Yeah,
on.
that was
And that's
previous.
what I had.
But
was
again,
concerned about.
we're not separating, you're not being paid out of a separate pool.
Okay. all right.
That's just a joke.
Um,
And that's the-
professional dues, travel, public relations, we talked about that already. Everything else is basically the same. Again, general supplies will be changed to custodial supplies, and each district will still get the 2,000.
Travel. Where's that travel in included?
So anything in state, because in-state is brought before you guys, but it's not approved by you guys. Out-of-state travel is approved by you. So what we're saying is whether you approve anything out-of-state or in-state, we're not going over $12,500. Because you guys might decide, hey, I'm gonna approve for somebody to go to Washington DC. Well, that's fine, as long as we have the money and that line item is not maxed out. Because anytime I look at it and we're at, we can't go.
But then under the I know we're not there yet, but under the non-departmental, it still has that, the NLC annual meeting budget. So that's travel.
Right.
As well.
So that's, you guys gonna have to discuss that amongst council, okay? Because it's been stated that there's a possibility that some of the employees or staff wants to go to NLC, so we didn't wanna count it out. You guys still approve it. It's not to say that it has to happen, because y'all get the ultimate approval, but we didn't wanna say we took it out just to take it out.
Well, it seems, I know it was 50,000 budgeted for that conference. Now it's down to 8,500, but still, that seems unnecessary to me with the situation we're in to spend $8,500 to travel to Salt Lake City for 2 days. So, I don't know if everybody agrees with me or not.
Any of
That
these,
has to be approved anyway.
It does, but it seems to me like it just needs to be taken out.
Probably needs to, but, we'll decide on that when we get to it. this week. And, I mean, if anybody wants to go, I mean, even though it's there, pay out of your own pocket. Pay everything, your per diem, everything.
anything you'd like to change, typically at this point, it would be, you'll do it when you go to adopt the budget.
Yeah.
I move we approve the budget and we delete this or add to this or whatever you'd like.
So you guys make up 1.98% of our budget, and we're budgeting the government officials department to be $196,000. The finance department, it's generally the same, everything. Professional dues, all professional dues in each department will have to be job-related, expenses. So we're not gonna have a professional dues if I'm a firefighter, but I'm going to take a human resource class. That's not pertaining to my job duty. So we wanna make sure that we keep it job-related, for the departments.
Nothing against firefighters.
Nothing against them at all.
Gotta love them.
Any questions about the finance? We're budgeting that at 495, and that's 5% of our budget. There is no IT, we just kept it because it was in the budget that was approved in June, and so even though there's nothing there, we wanted you guys to see that, that's why it's blank. Police. This is their salaries, we're budgeting, which is gonna be 1.6. We're estimating 110,000 in overtime. FICA, everything is about the same. Now, let's talk about uniforms, because we had a lot of conversations about it. I propose that we buy everybody 3 uniforms a year, regardless. Just buy 3 uniforms, be done with it. Right now, that would be hard, talking to the department heads, okay? Because they have been on hold for so long with uniforms. So, Chief, for fire, 1 uniform was about, how much you said?
Pair of pants is over $100, boots are over $100, and shirts are about 50, plus embroidery would be another 14. Guys on the shifts, we normally do 3 per year, Monday through Friday, we only get 2, office doesn't union. We haven't been allowed to spend since January, so we've been holding back, and now the uniforms are kind of getting in bad shape.
So we're gonna have to take that in consideration, that some of these uniform line items may need to increase to capture that. Chief Miles, your uniforms?
Ours are a little bit different than the fire department. What we consider part of our uniform is obviously shirts, pants, boots. But we also include duty belts, holsters, stuff like that into our uniform. So that's why ours may be a little bit more than, say, a firefighter. Where the firefighter would have us would be their turnout gear. Their bunker gear is gonna be more expensive than our holsters and stuff like that.
Yeah, another question, Chief, what about like Centos? If we get not the police department, but say Mr. Ricky got the guys over at Centos that come get the uniforms, clean the uniforms and everything, could you kind of look in and see if they got like the polo shirts that y'all got? And
So
I mean,
we have looked into them in the past. One of the issues is, take for instance, if we tear a pair of pants, they won't replace the pants, you're just gonna let us sew the pants. So if you go to a call and you get ripped right down the center, they'll just put a stitch through the pants. So you know what happens when you do that, now you've lost integrity for bloodborne pathogens and different diseases that can penetrate those sewn in patches and different things. Then the other aspect was, if you do patchwork, then you're gonna have professionals out in patched clothes.
so I get you. So we
So say you get a stain,
patch,
you
but
work on
we'll
a truck, you experience this personally. You're working on a truck and you get a stain. You got a stain for 12 months, they will not replace it. So the cost would be either you pay for that and the cleaning, so you pay for another shirt and cleaning, or just live with it. One of the things that we could do, if y'all are interested, so all of we have a purchase agreement with proper uniform. We could actually give you a list of what it would take, a price from proper, to buy pants and everything, and you can do a comparison. But right now, a lot of the cleaning is done in-house. They take care of their own laundry, and so that would be another expense, where now we buy uniforms one time. You do that, you gotta pay for them, the laundry uniforms, plus you have to pay for any damaged uniforms. So we can do a comparison if you like.
yeah. Let's,
And I will say, I didn't get my numbers for that tonight, but Centos has gotten to be expensive for us. So that's why I was kind of on the line of let's buy out so many uniforms a year versus Centos, because Centos recently has sent us a letter saying that they're going to increase on us again.
okay.
So that was just an option, but I wanted you guys to be able to do that. Okay, same, basically down the line, professional dues. You see this tires here, we actually have put that all into one. Some of these line items I felt was redundant or not necessary. So that's why you're gonna see a lot of blank spaces here, and I'll explain that. Fundraisers, the reason why we see $500 here, our youth interventionist guy, he has been doing a lot of his own fundraising to bring in revenue to do things at the youth interventionist level. So I wanted us to be able to capture what he's doing. So it's not just being thrown into the general pot. We understand, because we don't want him to say, well, I bought in $2,000, but he spent $5,000. We want to be able to capture that, to see it. And that's about it. Police, of course, takes up 30%, 30.78% of our budget.
Let me ask,
One thing on ours I'd like to remind everybody of is under the building supply expenses, we've also used that, been forced to use that for building maintenance, like air conditioning work, roof work, stuff like that. The building was erected in 1984. It's old, it's got problems. So if a problem arises without that particular line item being funded, that'll be something that we'll bring before council, council meeting and request funds for repair. Unless it's an emergency situation that meets those guidelines, an emergency situation.
well, let me ask, with the police department, when a homeless person comes to you, do you all provide a hotel, pay for a hotel for them or something to that?
We don't, unless they're a victim of a crime. If they're a victim of a crime, the dynamic changes a little bit. There's so much that the victim's advocate can do once approved. Typically, if it's on a cold night, and it's a homeless person and there's somebody there, we'll let them sit for a while, as long as we can. During the day, during business hours, we can't really do that because there's a lot of people in and out. And a lot of times when you get homeless people, not all of them, but the majority of them, come in with a lot of stuff. It takes up a lot of space in that lot. And it creates hazards. A lot of times we'll also transport them to House of Hope and Florence or something like that.
Mhm.
We can. But sometimes you have to call, or you have to wait for it to get in, or whatever the case may be. But we do the best we can to accommodate them when we can and where we can.
Okay, with the victim's advocate, is it difficult to say how often you have to provide a roof over their heads, a hotel, and for how long?
It depends. The majority of the time when we provide room for victims, it's usually domestic violence cases. Whether it's the male or the female. One party, either a door has been destroyed, the home can't be secured, or one is simply afraid of the other. The victim's advocate gets notified. She has her own line item in the budget for victim's advocate expenses, and she goes ahead and then creates a room for that.
Okay.
And there's hotels that we've talked with prior to this happening, where they kind of set us a rate, this is what it's going to be for this hotel to take a victim. Obviously, if you've got a victim of domestic violence in Lake City, they're not going to a hotel.
Okay.
They're taking them somewhere else.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next would be our judicial department. Now, this says 3 full-time employees. We have 3, but they're not all full-time. We have 2 full-time, and then we have 1 part-time judge. So just keep that in mind. Everything generally the same. Nothing major has changed on the line item. So, any questions? It's all right. Keep strolling. That's what I like to hear. Keep strolling. Next will be our fire. Same thing. We did break out the overtime for the fire department. So we see that 150 there for the fire. Everything is still the same. Now, Chief, the fire department, they do a lot of travel and training for their certifications. So let's, keep that in mind with those numbers as well. But everything else is basically there. And they make up 13.84% of our.
I got a question for Chief too.
Chief Miles? Drew.
Triggers.
Okay.
I know we talked about it years ago, but like accidents, people from out of town, maybe get in a fender bender or something to kind of generate money. I don't know if Mr. Thompson ever heard of it, but she could kind of explain to you, like if somebody's from Florence and they get in a fender bender here in Lake City with somebody from Lake City, when you go out there and we clean up the scene, whatnot, they charges the person from Florence insurance company. It doesn't affect the citizen here in Lake City. You follow, and it generates revenue to the fire department, to their personal fund. And that could also help chief out too, if we kind of look into doing that. You know, trying to get money.
I've worked in cities that did that. We can,
If you can drop that down for us.
Didn't know we did. Learning curve.
You got that, Steve? You
I
wrote
do.
that down? Okay. Next is our utility service public works. We're budgeting for 11 positions. We broke out the overtime for them as well. Everything basically stayed the same. The uniform situation is still the same.
Everything look good to you, or Mr. Ricky?
You told me to cover for him, yeah.
So, and we're budgeting at $835,000 for them. Again, no PIO. We don't have that department any longer, so that's zeroed out. The airport, we do have expenses out there. And so we're budgeting the expenses for the airport at $9,950. And that's based off of actual numbers from last year.
Who cut the grass at the airport? Ground maintenance. Do
I believe our guys,
a day? So we paying our guys $1,500 to cut the grass out there. I'm just
that's just
asking.
the ground maintenance, so that's like keeping the weed eaters up, and that type of stuff. That's not paying somebody's salary.
Okay.
That's just for the maintenance.
Okay.
All right, we're going down to the recreation and tourism. Salaries, we do have overtime there for the games, so forth. So that's why you see that there. Same thing, numbers is basically the same stuff.
And Ms. Cynthia takes in a lot of donations with the rec department too. So, you know, you know that with like getting
That's why we have the
uniforms.
well, we have the fundraiser line
Okay.
to show what she will be bringing in for what she getting for her donations and stuff.
Because we had a problem with that, like when we first got on council about voting for uniforms and all that good stuff. We didn't. We thought the city was paying for it, and
Oh, yeah.
actually she was getting donations, and then you know the city get reimbursed and all that good stuff. So
I got you. The senior citizens, this is what we're budgeting for, but keep in mind, this particular budget is always reimbursed to us, okay? So the number that you're gonna see here for a total will be reimbursed to us. This $163,000 is not extra money we will be paying out of the general fund because we will get that money back from the county.
So any money that has been, anything that the city hasn't, that paid, anything that the city paid for the senior citizen center is being reimbursed, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Including for the air conditioning? Yeah, I wanna know.
The only thing I can tell you is the air conditioner was paid for.
and the big clarification. We'll talk about that.
Let me ask about inventories from each department. Any equipment, cameras, computers, is anyone keeping a check and balance system?
So that's a part of the if you notice, we said we updating our financial policies and stuff to make sure we capture that type stuff.
Okay.
We don't have clear and concise numbers. We know we have stuff here, we know we have stuff there. We don't have actual numbers or anything. So one of our future goals is to put boots on the ground, go to our different sites, and document exactly what we have and where.
Okay, now like we don't have PIO officer now. Now those cameras belong to the city, right?
They do.
Was that equipment turned in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we can
And
check
we-
and
we've
balance. Not
already-
just that, there's a lot of equipment out there that we need to be able to account for.
So, immediately when, our person left, I had, Joel go get the cameras. We moved those to like Public Works. We moved them somewhere, that we needed some more visibility to. The computers and stuff he used to upgrade some of the existing computers that we had, because some of the stuff we had was running out of date. So we are taking those things, we're not leaving them, we are trying to put them other places to use within the city.
Okay. Do we have records on the number of computers that was purchased for out here?
Yeah, for the gaming and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I can pull some numbers, I don't wanna tell you, I can tell
Yeah,
you
yeah,
exactly.
don't tell us nothing.
Yeah, I, because I don't know
Yeah.
what that number is, but I can have the ladies pull and see if we can find the number.
Okay.
All like that quick.
We need to compare and contrast what what's here as opposed to what's not here.
Boys and girls, again, we took that out because that is now falling under a contribution. It's not a department, okay? So that's why that's zero out. With a non-departmental, basic expenses, you know, we will have election expense, we have postage. We took out the get well bereavement. Before, that was an expense that the city's been paying. If someone passed away, the city was paying for flowers, blah, 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 blah. So now we took that out and we want to make it more of a departmental, let's take up something for a family. So that's why you don't see any money there. Telephone expense, audit fees. We cut city celebrations back. That's just a base number. We don't have to spend that whole 5,000 in city celebrations. And that's your Juneteenth type deal stuff, for city celebrations. Contributions, let's talk about that. We budgeted it at 50,000. Giving the PDRTA 20,000, giving the library 20,000, and giving the Boys and Girls Club 10,000. So that's how that makes up the 50,000. And we wanted to give PDRTA something. They have recently came in and spoken with us, and they said that a lot of our seniors in the city has been using the services more. So we wanted to make sure it's not what they've been used to, because they've been accustomed to getting like 40 or 50,000 as a contribution, but of course we had to scale back. Community events, we scaled that down to the 5,000. Again, we don't have to use that entire 5,000.
Street lighting, that's the city, that's how much the city pays in street lighting.
Mhm. Yep. And so that puts you at 1.6 in non-departmental. And that 85,000, again, you guys as the governing body can decide what we wanted to budget for it.
Oh, that's the, okay.
Mhm.
I seen that, 41.5 over
No,
there.
that's the difference. Code enforcement department, of course, we have 2 people there. Same concept. Nothing.
Two people in the code enforcement.
We have Kayla and Jordan.
All right.
Next is our sanitation salary, solid waste. Same thing, we're budgeting them. We will capture their overtime. Same concept across the board. And so that, adding all of those together, that brings you to that total of the 9.8 that we talked about at the beginning.
That's a little cheaper than what was that, eh? So
Yeah.
That's a whole lot better, that's.
Yeah, because it was budgeted at 11, and now we're budgeting at 9. Any questions? Any thoughts, concerns? All right, so I'm going to conclude that, because that means we're about to get out of here.
Oh.
Now, we can go through the utilities in detail.
Just print it out, just make copies for us.
We did want to highlight a few things for you guys. So one of the things that we worked on is updating the financial policies and procedures. So you guys will be getting a copy of that soon, because we want to put that on the October agenda to get it adopted moving forward. We're updating our monthly report that you guys will get. You will basically get like a summary, but then you can still get the whole package. But I know sometimes you guys are looking at your phone and going through 50 sheets. It's not as easy as getting a cover sheet to show you that. Of course, you know, we've had a water analysis conducted for the city and realized the city, Lake City water rates is the lowest, one of the lowest in the state is what we were told. So we were even lower than Bishopville. So we have to keep that in mind. We were actually told that our rates did not allow us to even build in capital over the last couple of years because they've been so low. So we know right now we're out of reserves and we have no capital. So if the fire truck breaks down right now, we have no money to either get a new fire truck or get it fixed, because we have no reserves, we have nothing built in for capital. So we gotta do something in order to generate.
And Chief, I got a question. With the purchase of the new truck, is we still good with that? I mean, because we gotta have the money to back it.
We're short.
We short, so we might not be.
You signed a contract.
All right, go ahead, keep on.
Throughout this process, we've been able to recognize some weaknesses and strengths within the finance department. That was one of the reasons why we wanted to push on getting this new system, to get more real-time data, to help us with that. Of course, right now, that system is on hold, but as soon as we're able, we will be doing that. We're also going to restructure the finance department with the fact that our grant writer is no longer here. So we're just going to restructure that whole department too.
Can we still get with the COG for them to help us with grants? Okay.
So at this point, where we're at,
The matching thing.
the match.
I got you.
Keep in mind, I have no problem with us getting a grant, but if we
we
have to
have-
match with what we already have obligated ourselves to, we're digging a deeper hole. So I'm saying, let's get through what we have, and then once those books are clean, then let's look at more grants. But until then,
Yeah.
let's say a prayer.
Tread lightly.
And of course, the last thing we want to talk, we talked and discussed with you guys with this budget is the insurance, that We have the PIVA, we have the Blue Cross and Blue Shield, which is our marketplace, and we're discussing a $500 difference in that. And that's all for me. I'm gonna turn it back over to Steve.
That's it.
Did y'all have
That's
any questions for me?
Questions, thoughts, concerns? We can go back through it if you'd like.
My thing is,
Give me a more clear, as to where we are at and where we're going. Going through this today, because before I was that crazy, hearing so many different stories about, department and stuff like that, how we were gonna handle it, and it looked like as though it's balancing off. So we have to move forward and
enlighten Ms.
We're at the gauntlet.
Maybe I missed the question. I'm
So
sorry.
this particular budget, she's saying that based off of this look like we're balancing.
Right.
This particular budget is balancing,
Right.
but it's balancing with no reserves, no capital.
right.
It's just balancing with us getting by.
Hanging
Well, it is, but
at the gauntlet.
the utility system, the things we call the cost allocation side is built into the utility system. So when you approve the rates on the utility system, it approves that and it helps support the balancing of the general fund. So it all ties together in that sense. So yes, it will be balanced with all that.
Yeah, I thought she was more or less asking about the employees, in the departments. That's what you was asking.
No. just at the
No,
budget.
no, I'm just making a statement as to what I just saw. It give me a better view of where we're going and where we're at.
Okay.
And we know that, you say about water stuff is lower than most of the state. We know we're gonna have to do, people come in and complain all they want, but, $100 water bill, you got to pay it, or we're gonna go under. So something have to give in order for us to keep going up and not going down.
And with the rates we're recommending to you, that zero minimum rate where we charge for everything, it'll produce the money to pay for this budget. It'll do that, but everybody's rates will go up. It all depends on your circumstances and everything else, and we want to absolutely keep them as low as possible. But this will be a rate increase for our customers. But it also makes everything else work, and in this case, so it seems to be the best way to go forward.
I
And
just
so
won't have any
basically,
water then.
and so,
I'm just gonna
and
use
and
it.
basically, again, we're capturing everything you're using. Before, you got to get up to 2,500 gallons of water before you actually start paying it. Now we're saying, you use a gallon, you're gonna pay for a gallon. You use a half a gallon, you're gonna pay for a half.
And at the same time, the money that's, in the past would do a transfer, either intentionally or unintentionally by overspending, we're capturing that so it's all clean. You know what you've transferred, you know what you haven't, and there's none of, everything doesn't disappear, or whatever, however you want to phrase it, but it should be straightforward. I mean, what do you think? Does this work for y'all? Do you think this sounds all right?
I think for me, I think it works. The only thing, the thing is first off, thank y'all for being transparent. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Mr. Steve. Thank you, Shane. Thank you for coming in and trying to, yes, that's Shane. And trying to help us alleviate the problem. Of course, it's not going to be alleviated, but we have come to a budget to where we're at now so that we can try to get further and progression with the city. Of course, if it's never council's something that we want to do as far as increasing rates and stuff like that, because we know the socioeconomic demographics of Lake City, and we know what the citizens really make in Lake City, and it's much as nothing. And you do have a lot of low-income families, and this is just a predicament that we're in right now, and the only way to get out of it is to raise taxes. And I'm kind of like piggybacking on what Councilman Councilwoman Scott said, excuse me. But at the end of the day, it's nothing that we want to do, but it's a business, the city is a business. And that's just what we have to get the citizens to understand, that we're not doing stuff just to do it, because whatever we do, it affects us too, because we are city council and we do live in the city limits.
And I agree with Cola, because once the water bill go up, then the citizens gonna blame council that the water bill went up. And we need to be precise and clarification on letting the citizens know what we are dealing with at the end of the day. Either we gonna have a good operating running city with good clean water that we can keep the city operating, or we just gonna have dirty water and then eventually we won't have nobody there to obtain the water. You get what I'm saying? So.
That's right. You know, if you look around at the well-run cities in this area, they all use this system. So it's kind of the way they do it. We felt as preparing this that we wanted it just as conservative as possible. You know, you don't want expensive vehicles in the city, you don't want other things, I mean, you know, for the employees, you don't want to be extravagant about it. People should feel like you're putting their money to good use. And I believe that you're going to find that with this budget.
Yeah, and that should be everybody in goal investments at the end of the day, you know. So.
All hearts and minds are clear?
Well, if you think of something else, let either of us know and we'll get to the bottom of it. I've got a couple of questions here that we'll answer for you. And let us know. Otherwise, we are moving forward with the first reading, I guess, in 2 weeks. And then the second reading will be later in
Next week?
October.
No, 2 weeks. I'll send you the date. It's
Oh.
until like September 23rd, I think.
Oh, okay.
Because we got to get it in the newspaper and then
Oh, okay.
15 days after that, so.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all for
you all.
coming.
When y'all change the date, I mean the place?